The night sky of the alien world burned with fire when his escape pod tore through the clouds. Metal screamed, sparks scattered, and the earth below shook when the pod hit the ground. Smoke rose like a dying beast. Inside, one human alone. Weak and half-conscious, pushed open the hatch. His name was Daniel. He had no idea that he had landed on a world that had not seen a man for 105 years. Daniel stumbled out. The air was heavy with strange scents, sweet and sharp. The ground glowed faintly under the light of twin moons. Trees stood tall and twisted, their leaves shining like silver blades. For a moment, he thought he had landed in some kind of paradise. But then, he felt at the eyes. Many eyes watching him from the shadows. The first figure stepped out, tall, elegant, and alien. Her skin was smooth with a pale glow, her hair long and flowing like liquid night. She wore armor, but not like any armor Daniel had ever seen. It was more ceremonial, designed to show her form rather than hide it, her gaze frozen in place. Behind her, more figures appeared, dozens of them, all women. All staring at him as if they had found something impossible. Whispers ran through the crowd. Daniel could not understand their language, but he could feel the tone. Shock, fear, hunger. Some eyes were sharp like blades, others wide with wonder. One voice rose above the whispers, harsh and commanding. A woman stepped forward, taller than the rest, with golden markings across her arms. Clearly a leader. She spoke slowly, her words sharp, but this time in a tongue he could understand. "A man," she said. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were fierce. A living man, after 105 years. The curse is broken. Daniel's chest tightened. "Who are you? Where am I?" His voice was weak but steady. He tried to stand tall, even though his body shook from exhaustion. The leader's lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. "You are on Zathera, and you should not exist." At her signal, two armored women rushed forward, their hands gripping strange weapons that shimmered with energy. Daniel raised his arms defensively, but they grabbed him, pressing into his knees. The alien crowd gasped, some leaned closer, curious, others hissed as if disgusted. One even reached out to touch his hair before being pushed back by a guard. Daniel's heart pounded. He had trained for survival, but nothing had prepared him for this. Dozens of alien women, closing in on him, speaking words he could barely follow. He heard fragments. The first, "A miracle, dangerous. Keep him alive. Sacrifice him." The leader studied him with eyes that burned like fire. "You will come with us," she said. "The council must decide your fate. If you are real, you may save us. If you are a trick, you will burn." Dragged forward, Daniel stumbled through the alien city that rose beyond the forest. It was like something from a dream. Towers made of crystal stone, bridges of light, banners flowing in the wind. But everywhere he looked, only women. Their gazes followed him, their whispers spreading like wildfire. Some looked at him with longing, others with hatred. One young alien woman in the crowd whispered softly, but Daniel caught it. "So handsome. Like the old stories." Her voice was filled with awe. She reached out a trembling hand toward him, but a guard pushed her back roughly. Daniel realized something then. It wasn't just curiosity. These women hadn't seen a man for more than a century. For them, he was a ghost from legend, a relic from the past. A forbidden miracle. Inside the great hall, the leader stopped before a throne carved from black stone. Torches of blue fire lit the chamber. At the far end sat a council of alien matriarchs, each older and more imposing than the last. Their eyes narrowed as Daniel was forced onto the floor. The leader bowed slightly. "Honored council, the impossible has happened. A man lives." Gasps echoed. One elder rose, her voice shaking. "Do not speak of curses here. Do you not remember the plague men brought? Do you not remember the ruin they left?" Another elder. Her face softer, leaned forward. And yet, without men, our blood grows weak, our children fewer each year. Perhaps this is no curse. Perhaps this is deliverance. The chamber erupted into argument. Some demanded his death. Others demanded he be kept alive. Daniel's eyes darted from face to face, his heart racing. He couldn't understand all of it, but he knew one thing. His life was hanging by a thread. The leader raised her hand for silence, her golden eyes locked on him. You are the first man in 105 years, and you will answer to U.S. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to speak, to argue, to fight, but his voice stuck in his throat. All he could do was meet her gaze. She smiled slowly. Tomorrow night, the ritual will decide if you live or die. The guards pulled him away as the council chamber erupted again. The whispers grew louder, more fevered. Daniel's mind spun. Ritual? What ritual? And as the heavy doors slammed shut behind him, the last thing he heard was the chilling laughter of one elder. After a century, the hunger returns. Asterisk. The cell was dark, its walls carved from smooth black stone that glowed faintly with blue fire veins running through them. Daniel sat against the wall, breathing hard. His wrists were bound with bands that hummed softly, cutting into his skin if he pulled too hard. He had survived the crash, survived the capture, but he wasn't sure if he could survive them. Outside, the bars, footsteps echoed, soft, slow, almost teasing. He lifted his head just as the door creaked open. Light spilled in, and with it, a group of alien women stepped inside. They weren't guards this time. They wore flowing silk-like robes, colors shifting between purple and silver. Their eyes gleamed with something more dangerous than blades: curiosity, desire, hunger. One of them, tall with skin that shimmered like bronze under the firelight, leaned close to the bars. Her eyes studied his face carefully, then traveled down his chest. She smiled faintly. So it's true. A man, another, younger and braver, slipped her hand through the bars and brushed her fingers along his arm. Daniel flinched, pulling back instinctively. The women giggled, whispers filling the cell like buzzing insects. He's warm. He's strong, like the stories. Daniel's heart pounded. It was the way they looked at him, like hunters circling prey, or starving travelers staring at food after a long famine. I don't know what you think I am, he said firmly, but I'm not yours. The words made them laugh. A soft, eerie laugh that carried both amusement and cruelty. The bronze-skinned woman tilted her head. Not ours. Oh, human, you don't understand. You are the first man in 105 years. You belong to all of us. Her words were both a promise and a threat. Before Daniel could reply, the heavy doors slammed open again. The guards entered, their armor clinking, their eyes sharp. Out, one barked. The visitors hissed in annoyance, but obeyed, slipping away reluctantly. Their whispers echoed even as they left. The ritual. He won't last, but I want him first. Daniel's stomach twisted. Ritual again. That word haunted him now that the guards didn't speak. They pulled him to his feet and dragged him through long corridors of crystalline fire. At last they stopped in a chamber that glowed with strange lights. It wasn't the council hall. This was different. Here, a pool of liquid silver shimmered in the center. Around it, alien women stood in circles, chanting softly. Their voices rose and fell, hypnotic and chilling. At the head of the circle stood the leader, the one with golden markings. Her eyes locked on him instantly. Fierce, burning, possessive. She stepped forward, her robes flowing behind her. You stand at the edge of history, human. Do you understand what you are? Daniel stared back. A prisoner. Her lips curved. No, you are temptation made flesh. You are the answer to every whisper in the night. For over a century, we have lived without men. Our daughters grow weaker, our numbers fewer, and now you appear." She circled him slowly, her eyes never leaving his face. "Some say you are a curse, some say a savior. Tonight, the ritual will decide." Daniel clenched his fists. "What ritual?" Her smile widened, sharp and cruel. "The ritual of claiming. We will test if you are strong enough to survive among us. If you fail, you die. If you survive, then you belong to us. To me." The chanting grew louder. The air thickened with heat. Daniel's heart raced. The alien women's eyes glowed. In the flickering light, hungry and unblinking. They looked at him as if every one of them wanted a piece of him. He swallowed hard. He had faced beasts, war, and the emptiness of space. But this was different. This was survival against desire itself. The leader raised her hand. "Tomorrow night, the claiming begins." The women cheered, voices rising in fever. Their eyes sparkled with fire and longing. Daniel's body tensed as the guards pulled him back toward the cell. He could still hear the chanting, still see their hungry eyes, following him even in the darkness. And for the first time, he realized something. Chilling, this planet didn't just want him. It needed him. The night came heavy and restless. Daniel sat in the dark cell, listening to the hum of the walls. His body ached, but it wasn't the pain that kept him awake. It was the word that haunted him. Ritual. Outside, drums began to beat, slow, deep. Each strike echoed through the halls, like the heartbeat of some great beast. Torches flared, and voices rose in chant. The whole city was awake, waiting for him. The cell door groaned open. 2 guards stepped in, their faces masked in silver metal. They said nothing, only grabbed him and pulled him out. Daniel stumbled as they dragged him through corridors glowing with strange light. The air smelled of incense, thick and heavy. Finally, they entered a vast arena carved from stone, open to the twin moons above. Thousands of alien women filled the seats, their eyes shining in the night. When Daniel appeared, the crowd gasped in unison. Then the chanting began again, low, hungry, like a storm rolling over the sea. In the center of the arena stood a circle of fire. The leader with golden markings was there, waiting. She stood tall, her robe flowing like molten gold, her eyes never leaving him. "Bring him," she commanded. The guards shoved him into the circle. Fire flared higher, heat washing over him. He felt the weight of every eye, every whisper. The leader stepped closer. "Daniel of Earth," she said, her voice echoing across the arena. "You are the first man in 105 years. You stand at the edge of judgment. Tonight we will test you. If you fail, you die. If you succeed—" Her lips curved into a smile. "You will belong to us." The crowd roared. Daniel lifted his chin, meeting her gaze. "I don't belong to anyone." Gasps spread through the audience. Some hissed. Others laughed. The leader's eyes narrowed, but instead of anger, she looked almost amused. "Proud," she said softly. "Good. You will need that pride." She raised her hand, and the chanting stopped. Silence fell heavy over the arena. Then the ground beneath Daniel shifted. Stone slabs moved aside, and from the depths, a massive gate began to rise. The sound of chains rattled, echoing like thunder. Daniel's heart pounded. Whatever was behind that gate, it wasn't friendly. The leader's voice rang out. "The beast of trial. Survive it, and the gods will mark you as worthy. Fail, and your bones will feed the earth." The gate crashed open. From the shadows, a monstrous creature emerged, taller than 3 men, its body covered in dark scales that glistened in the firelight. Its jaws dripped with venom, its eyes glowing like embers. The crowd screamed with excitement. Daniel stepped back, every muscle tense. He had no weapon, no armor, just his fists, his mind, and his will to survive. The beast let out a roar that shook the arena. Daniel clenched his fists, his breath steadying. He whispered to himself, "I've survived worse. I can survive this." The creature charged. Daniel dove to the side, rolling as the beast's claws ripped through the ground where he had stood. Dust and fire filled the air. The crowd screamed again, their voices wild with hunger for blood. He scrambled to his feet. Dodging another strike, his mind raced. "Think, Daniel. You can't fight it head-on. Use the arena. Use the fire." He grabbed a broken shard of stone from the ground and held it tight. The beast lunged again. Daniel ducked low, sliding under its swinging arm, and slammed the shard into the softer flesh beneath its jaw. The monster roared in pain, thrashing violently. The crowd went silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in cheers. Daniel stumbled back, chest heaving, the shard slick in his hand. The leader watched him closely, her golden eyes burning brighter now. Not just with authority, something else. Something dangerous. The beast turned again, its rage doubled, but Daniel stood firm. His body shook, but his eyes were sharp. For the first time since landing, he felt something new. Not fear. Power. The crowd could see it too. The whispers changed. No longer only hunger and hate, but awe. A man had faced the beast and lived. But the trial was not over. The leader raised her voice. "Impressive, but the beast is only the beginning." The fire surged higher, and the arena floor began to split open again. Shadows moved, more gates rising, more roars echoing. Daniel's stomach dropped. "More?" he whispered. The leader smiled. "The ritual has many trials, and only one end." The crowd screamed with frenzy as the second gate crashed open, and Daniel realized this was not just about survival. This was about being claimed, or being destroyed. The arena shook as the second gate slammed open. From its shadow crawled another beast, this one leaner, faster, with razor claws that sparked when they struck the stone floor. Its eyes locked on Daniel like a predator spotting prey. The crowd erupted in wild cheers, chanting in their alien tongue. Thousands of voices filled the night, their hunger rising with each roar of the beasts. Daniel's chest heaved, his body aching from the last fight. Sweat burned his eyes, but his fists stayed tight. He whispered under his breath, "I won't die here." The first monster, still wounded but alive, circled from one side. The second beast growled from the other. Two predators closing in. Leader of the aliens watched from her throne, golden eyes sharp, lips curved in a dangerous smile. To her, this was entertainment. To Daniel, it was survival. The creatures attacked together. Daniel rolled beneath the swipe of the first, barely escaping the jaws of the second. He hit the ground hard, coughing, his body screaming in pain. The crowd's cheers became laughter. To them, his struggle was amusing, but in the stands, one figure didn't laugh. The princess. She was younger than the others, her skin softer, her eyes wide with something the others lacked: fear. Not fear of Daniel, but for him. She watched him stumble, bleed, and rise again. Her lips parted as if whispering a prayer. Daniel dodged another strike, his eyes catching hers for a heartbeat. In that moment, he saw it: pity, concern, something human. The beasts lunged again, and Daniel's mind raced. He had no weapon, no shield, only fire, stone, and instinct. When the larger beast struck, Daniel sidestepped, grabbing a burning torch from the ground. With all his strength, he shoved it into the creature's eye. The beast shrieked, thrashing violently. The fire clung to its face, smoke rising. The second beast leapt at him, but Daniel dove aside at the last second, and the two monsters collided. With bone-crushing force, the arena went silent for a breath, then exploded with noise. Some cheered wildly, others hissed in fury. Daniel dropped to his knees, gasping for air. He had survived again. The leader stood, her voice thundering. "Enough. The trial is over." The crowd protested, but her glare silenced them. She raised her hand toward Daniel. He is strong. Stronger than we feared. The gods have marked him. Tomorrow, the ritual of claiming will begin. The words struck Daniel like a blade. He wasn't free. This was only the beginning. The guards dragged him back through the corridors. His body was broken, but his spirit burned hotter than ever. He couldn't let them decide his fate. That night, locked in his cell, Daniel sat in silence. His wrists bled, his chest ached, but his eyes stayed sharp. He needed a plan. He needed a way out. Then soft footsteps. A shadow slipped into the room. The princess. Her robe shimmered in the torchlight, her breath uneven as she looked at him. For a moment, she said nothing, only studied him, her eyes trembling with emotions she couldn't hide. "You shouldn't be here," Daniel whispered. "Had to come," she said softly. Her voice was different from the others, gentle, unsure. "If they continue the ritual, you will not survive. They will not stop until you are theirs, or dead." Daniel's heart raced. "Then help me escape," she froze. Her lips parted. Her eyes wide. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. The silence stretched, heavy, dangerous. Finally she whispered, "If they catch me helping you, they will kill me." Daniel leaned closer, his voice low but steady. "If you don't help me, they'll kill me anyway, and you know it." Her eyes shimmered with conflict. Then she reached through the bars, her hand brushing his. Warm, soft, real, for the first time since he landed, Daniel felt something other than fear. Hope. She looked into his eyes, her breath shaking. "Meet me tomorrow night. When the moons rise, I will come. But you must promise me. When you leave, you will take me with you." Daniel's chest tightened. He had no idea if he could even survive another day, let alone escape an entire city of warriors, but he nodded anyway. "I promise." The princess smiled faintly, her fingers tightening on his. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist, but then, the sound of approaching guards echoed in the hall. She pulled back instantly, her face pale with fear. "Tomorrow," she whispered. Before vanishing into the shadows, Daniel pressed his forehead against the cold stone bars, his heart pounding. He had no weapon, no allies, no plan except her. He knew one thing for certain. Tomorrow night, everything would change. The moons of Zithera hung heavy in the sky when the guards dragged Daniel from his cell once again. His body was weak, but his eyes still burned with defiance. Tonight was different. He wasn't just waiting for death, he was waiting for her. Princess. As the city slept, shadows moved. When the guards left him chained near the temple for the coming ritual, a soft figure slipped from the darkness. Her hood covered her face, but Daniel knew those eyes. "You came," he whispered. She pressed a finger to her lips. "Quiet, we don't have much time." Her hands trembled as she worked on the chains. Strange glowing keys twisted in the locks, and the shackles snapped open. Daniel rubbed his wrists, bloodied but free. "This way," she said urgently. They slipped into the forest outside the city walls. The air was thick with mist, and alien flowers glowed faintly in the dark. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made Daniel tense. "You know they'll come after us," he said. Her voice wavered. "They'll come after you. If they catch me, I will be punished worse than death." Daniel glanced at her. She was brave, but fear lingered in her eyes. Yet still she had chosen to help him. That meant something. Something he couldn't ignore. They moved deeper into the jungle. The night was alive with strange sounds, chirps, growls, whispers that didn't belong to the wind. Daniel kept his guard up, his every sense sharp. Then it happened. The ground shook beneath their feet. A low growl rumbled through the mist. The princess froze, her breath catching. Out of the shadows a beast emerged. Larger than the ones from the arena, its body covered in thick, spiked scales. Its mouth opened wide, dripping venom that hissed when it touched the ground. The princess whispered, terrified, The Night Stalker. Daniel grabbed her hand and pulled her behind him. Run! But the creature was faster. It lunged, claws, tearing through trees like paper. Daniel shoved the princess aside and rolled just as the monster's strike slammed into the ground. Dirt and stone exploded into the air. He had nothing. No weapons, no armor. Only his bare hands, but he had one thing the beast didn't: human instinct. He darted around the creature, dodging its claws, using the trees as cover. The princess screamed his name, but Daniel kept moving. His mind raced. It's bigger, stronger, but slower. Use that. The beast lunged again. Daniel leapt aside, grabbing a sharp branch broken from the trees. With all his strength, he drove it into the creature's eye. The Night Stalker roared, shaking the ground. The princess covered her ears, her body trembling. The beast thrashed wildly, crashing into trees, its blood glowing faintly in the dark. Daniel stumbled back, chest heaving. His arm bled, his body screamed with pain, but he stood tall. He had done what no one else on this world had dared. The princess rushed to him, her hands gripping his shoulders. Her eyes were wide, shining with both fear and wonder. You saved me, she whispered. Her voice cracked, almost breaking. Daniel gave a weak smile. Guess I'm useful for something. For a moment, the fear of death melted. She touched his face, her hand soft against his bruised skin. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but no words came. Instead, her eyes told him everything: gratitude, awe, and something more dangerous. Desire. The jungle around them was still alive with sounds, but inside that moment, there was only silence. Only the two of them. Her hand lingered on his cheek, and Daniel didn't pull away. For the first time, she wasn't a stranger, wasn't just an alien. She was a bond. A lifeline. But the moment shattered when voices echoed through the forest. Shouts. The glow of torches breaking through the mist. The princess's face turned pale. They're coming, she whispered. They'll kill you if they catch us. Daniel clenched his fists, eyes burning with fire. Then we don't let them catch us. He grabbed her hand again, pulling her into the shadows of the jungle. Behind them, the Night Stalker let out one last dying roar. Ahead of them, the voices of alien hunters closed in, and between them, hope and danger walked side by side. The forest burned with torchlight. Voices shouted through the night as hunters searched the jungle. Daniel and the princess ran, their breaths sharp, their feet pounding the ground. Every step echoed with danger. Behind them, alien guards broke branches, calling out in harsh voices. The hunt had begun. Daniel pulled the princess close as they slid behind a fallen tree. His chest heaved, his wounds stung, but he kept silent. The princess's hand trembled in his. Her eyes met his, wide with fear. They won't stop, she whispered. You don't understand. To them, you are not a man. You are a prize. A possession. Daniel's jaw tightened. A no one's possession. But even as he said it, the shadows moved. A net of glowing energy hurled from the trees and wrapped around him. Pain surged through his body as the threads tightened, searing his skin. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. The princess cried out, rushing toward him, but guards burst from the darkness and pulled her back. Their weapons hummed, their eyes cold. The leader stepped forward, golden markings glowing under the moonlight. Her lips curved into a cruel smile. Did you think you could escape us, human? She said softly, no man leaves Zethera, you belong to us. Daniel's muscles strained against the net, but it was useless. They dragged him back through the jungle, torches lighting the way. The princess was forced to follow, her eyes filled with guilt and sorrow. The crowd was waiting when they returned to the city. Thousands of alien women filled the square, their voices rising in fevered chants. They had caught their prey. The hunger in their eyes burned hotter than the torches. Daniel was thrown to his knees before the council once again. His body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes never dropped. He stared straight at the leader, defiance in every line of his face. The elder matriarchs raised their voices. Some shouted for his death. Others demanded he be claimed. The noise was deafening. A storm of desire and rage. At last, the leader raised her hand, silencing them. Her golden eyes locked on Daniel. "You survived the beasts," she said. "You defied our hunters, and still you stand. That makes you dangerous and irresistible." She stepped closer, her presence heavy, her voice low but sharp. "The old trials have ended. Now begins the trial of desire." The crowd gasped. Even the princes froze. Daniel's breath caught. "Trial of what?" The leader's smile widened. "You will not face beasts this time. You will face us. Our will, our hunger, if you can resist. If you can remain unbroken, you may earn your freedom. But if you fall," she leaned closer, her voice a whisper that only he could hear, "then you are ours forever." The arena roared. The women screamed his name, their chants twisting into cries of longing. Daniel's fists clenched. He had fought monsters, bled in the jungle, survived when he should have died. But this was different. This wasn't claws and teeth. This was temptation. The princess broke her silence, stepping forward. "No, you can't. This will destroy him." The leader's gaze snapped to her, cold as ice. "Stay silent, child, or you will share his fate." The princess bit her lip, tears shimmering in her eyes. She wanted to speak again, to protect him, but fear held her tongue. The guards dragged Daniel toward the temple, where the trial would begin. The crowd followed, chanting louder, their voices rising like thunder. Daniel looked back once. The princess stood frozen in the square, her eyes locked on his. In that look, he saw fear, but also something stronger. A promise she would not abandon him. But as the temple doors closed behind him, Daniel knew one thing with chilling certainty. This trial would not test his strength, that it would test his soul. The temple was lit by fire that burned blue, casting shadows that danced across the walls. Daniel stood chained in the center, surrounded by alien women whose eyes glowed with hunger. Their chants rolled like thunder, heavy and unending. With golden markings stepped forward, her gaze fixed on him. "This is the final trial," she declared. "The trial of desire. If you endure, you will earn the right to live among us. If you fail," her smile was sharp, "you will be ours until your body breaks." The crowd roared. Their voices shook the very stone. Daniel's heart hammered. He had fought monsters, escaped death, bled through trials, but this wasn't claws or teeth. This was worse. It was thousands of eyes on him, thousands of hearts demanding to claim him. The leader raised her hand. The chanting stopped. "Begin." One by one, the alien women stepped closer. Their robes shimmered, their movements slow and deliberate. They circled him like predators. Some touched his arms, others ran fingers across his chest. Whispers filled his ears. "You belong to us. Give in." No man can resist forever. Daniel's muscles tightened, but he kept his eyes forward. "I don't belong to one," he said firmly. His voice echoed, cutting through the whispers. The crowd hissed, but some gasped. No one had ever defied the ritual before. The leader's smile faded into a glare. She stepped closer until her face was inches from his. "Resist me, then." Her hand trailed across his jaw, her golden eyes piercing into his. Power radiated from her, heavy as chains. Around them, the crowd waited, breathless. Daniel's chest rose and fell. For a moment, he felt the weight of it, the pull, the desire pressing in from all sides. He was drowning in it, but then, his gaze shifted. The princess. She stood at the edge of the temple, her hands clenched, her eyes locked on his. Fear trembled in her expression, but beneath it was fire hope. She was silently begging him, "Don't. Given. Daniel took a slow breath. His voice was steady now. I'm not here to be your prisoner. I'm not here to be your toy. I'm here because I survived when no one else could. And if you want me, his eyes burned like steel, you'll have to kill me. The temple fell silent. For a heartbeat, not even the fire dared to move. Then chaos. Some women screamed in rage, others cried out in awe. The matriarchs argued, their voices clashing like blades. Never in a century had a man defied the trial. The leader's eyes blazed with fury, but also something else: respect. She raised her hand, silencing the uproar. This man, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber, does not break. He does not kneel. The gods have spoken through his defiance. He is no slave. She paused, her golden eyes narrowing. He is our chosen one. The crowd gasped. Then they erupted, some in cheers, some in screams of protest. The princess's eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. Daniel stood tall, chest heaving, chains still biting into his wrists. He had not given in. He had not broken, but as the noise filled the temple, he realized what the leader's words truly meant. He was no longer their prisoner. He was their king. The leader turned back to him, her smile returning, sharp as a blade. Chosen one, she said softly, now you must choose: rule us, or be consumed by us. The torches flared brighter, the chants rose again, and the temple trembled with frenzy. Daniel's eyes flicked once more to the princess. She shook her head subtly, fear etched in her face. She knew the truth. This wasn't victory. This was the beginning of something even more dangerous. And as the crowd cried out his new title, Chosen One, Chosen One, Daniel's heart sank because he understood. To survive, he would have to rule or burn.